Hi, how are you? This is Abdulaziz with you. I hope you should be following my videos and my other lectures. And also, just to let you know that I have started making a website as well, where you can find most of my posts and lectures at same place, so you can easily search and find. So, if you remember, uh, in one of my previous lectures, I have provided you some detail of what is this PM grid and process groups and knowledge areas. So these are all the processes that are part of these knowledge areas. So generally, I was just thinking that whenever we go through any project, what I have feel is that most of the project managers, even like me, we generally do not share our lessons learned because of many reasons. So one of the reasons that I feel is that in lesson learned you have to tell something that you missed basically, and you want to emphasize that okay, if you are doing this thing, then don't miss it. Or sometimes some new things come and then you have overcome that new challenge or problem. So sometimes the lesson learned are very good and very encouraging. I mean, it's, for example, if someone was doing a project and this COVID-19 hit him, then after this period, he can very proudly share his lesson learned because it was a unknown risk which was not anywhere, and the risk is struck, and then because of the risk, whatever he did, he can very proudly tell. But for example, there was some known risk and he missed it, then generally we see that people, they don't share that kind of lesson learned. So I want to just make it a bit enjoying as well, and I want to give you a small tip that the project management, we should apply it in even our life. I mean, very normal day life. I was giving a lecture a few days ago to some students, and some of them, they were thinking that project management is something very big, and they were not able to understand that why they are being told something about project management. So I told them that project management is not that kind of big. I mean, project management is something really big, yes, but it's something really small as well. It depends upon how you use the knowledge in your area. It does not require you to have a multi-billion-dollar project and then you will use the project management tools and techniques on it. You can use project management in your daily life. So I had one small example, so I thought I should share it with everyone. That yesterday my wife, she asked me that because of this COVID-19, I mean, we are in a lockdown position. We are not going outside, going to the public places. We are staying at home for most of the time. So my children, their hair, my two of the younger sons, one is 8 years, one is 9 years. So their hair had grown too much. So I had a hair clipping machine with me. So my wife, she asked me that just on a fine day, I mean, she said, why don't you cut their hairs? So I said, okay. And I just bring the machine and I just found one of them. And I just asked that, okay, I'm going to cut your hairs. And I started to cut his hairs. But this was the first time that I was cutting the hairs of them at home. So I just started it and without realizing anything. And then he also did not feel very easy. I mean, he make a bit of uh, problem, like it was a new thing that it was going to be at home, because when you go to a barber, he put a cover so that the hair that are cut from the head, they don't fall on your body, because when they fall on your body, you feel very itching. So he asked me that where is that plastic cover, how you are going to protect me from these hairs. So at that time I realized that I'm not fully prepared for it. So I just started a project without realizing that what is the total requirement. And I started a project without consulting the main stakeholder. I did not ask my son that, okay, we are going to do it with you. So what kind of problem you can face? So we could have managed these things in the start. So somehow, he make a lot of, like for example, sometimes he throws some hair on the floor, and he make a kind of mess in the washroom. So, but somehow I cut the hair of my first son and then the second son. Then at that time, my wife was busy. She was preparing, because of the Ramadan, we don't eat anything in the day, and we have to eat something just at the sunset time. So the time was coming near, so she was preparing things in the kitchen. So when I finished the haircut, she asked me that, okay, now you have cut the hairs, now you have to give them a bath as well. So, this was not part of the main project charter. So I started the project without knowing that a lot of scope creep can come inside this project, because you start the project without realizing the end of the project. So because of the time and other constraints, just what happened in a normal project, So I had to submit to this requirement. So I gave a bath to both the childs. I give to one, and one I managed with my wife that, okay, I'm doing this big thing, so at least you give the bath to one of them. So when I give the bath, I was also, all of my clothes also had a lot of hairs. So then I had to wash the whole washroom as well. So this is how a small project it started, and the project manager, he didn't realize that what problems he can face. He did not identify the major stakeholders at the time of the project charter was being given, because once a project charter is being given to you, even though the project charter also has a buy-in from the project manager, because project manager is assigned in the same project charter. When the charter has come from the management, the project manager name should be there, and he has to accept the project. But still, when he goes in the further things, sometimes he can go back, and he can even ask to change the project charter if the project has some scope creep. Then that scope can be made. If that is a big scope, then it can be made a part of the charter as well. So here the project charter which was given to me by the management was to cut the hairs of two sons. But when the project started, then we came to know that when you cut a hair, then you need to give a bath as well. And once you give a bath, then the washroom has to be washed as well. So technically, they became three projects, or it became a big project with three major deliverables. And also, when the charter was given to me, I did not identify the stakeholders and did not ask for their requirements. That okay, because once, if you remember this thing, in the initiating phase, you have to develop the project charter. And sorry, this may be not very much legible to you guys, but okay. So you have develop project charter, and then here you have identify the stakeholders. And once you have done these two things, then you come in planning. Even though planning has a lot of things, but here you have to plan the scope management plan, and then you have to collect requirements. So these requirements, they should come from the stakeholders, because that's why you identify stakeholders first, and then you collect the requirements, and then you define a scope. So if I had consulted the stakeholders and I was collecting the requirements, at that time I should know that okay, giving bath to the children and washing the washroom, and then arranging the things like a cover for the children so that they don't feel itching. These all things should have been made a part of the total scope. And once we were creating a WBS for this, then in this WBS we can see that this project is not a single project. It has three major things, and these things need these requirements. I mean, when I will cut the hair, then who will give a bath? Who will wash the washroom? So the thing to tell you is, the lesson learned is that, sometimes the project don't come, or the project is not in a very long project. I mean, sometimes you have been given a very small project. So sometimes we feel that this project is very small and it looks very simple. So there is no need to find or to discuss. I mean, for example, when this project was given to me, I just thought, okay, it's just a haircut. It will not take 15 minutes on a child. So within half an hour, I will do it. So no need to go in much detail. But when I start project, then I came to realize at the end it took almost 2 hours, and with a lot of work had to be done. So even though I managed to get some, once you get in a big project and the things are not, they are getting too much out of the scope. Maybe it was whose mistake, but you can always go back to the management and you can ask them for their support. So I went back to my wife and I asked that, okay, you at least to give part to one of them. I mean, I will give part to one of them. So you can at least do some give and take. So even if you are giving a very small project, which on the face it looks very small, but it's better to discuss it with your team and at least do these three things at least. First, you need to identify the stakeholders. Even though the project is big or small, identify the stakeholders and define the scope. Because once you have the stakeholders will give their own input as well. And then you can define the scope for even for a small project. And if there is anything which is missed by you, that thing can be added. And then create a work breakdown structure so that you know that okay, as far as this scope, we have to do these three things. So these three things, they will need some equipment, some hardware, some resource. So in this way, at least you are not hit very hard. I mean, you can save yourself, you can do the project in the best possible way. But if you just start the project just like me, then maybe things will go out of control, and then you will have no other option than to go back to the management and ask for the management support. And this was, I was just using it as a, you can say, as an example. Otherwise, I hope you know very well that going to management is never a good idea, because uh, if you go to management with this kind of wording that I had, that because you know there's a problem at your side, you were given a project charter and you did not even put 5 minutes of you on it, and you just started the project. So now when you go back to management, then management deals with you with some other style, I mean. But if you had not started a project, if you had just gone back and you had asked that, okay, I cannot do this project because of these things, then management should be supporting you, because project has not started and you have identified some very valid concerns. So once you start the project and you are in the middle of it, then you have to take a lot of blame on you, and you have to do a lot of things as well. You should have seen a lot of people, they say that we worked so hard and we took all the blame as well. This is generally because you really worked so hard, but because you did not do your initial work, you did not spend the time in planning, you don't spend the time in initiating. So that's why you did the hard job and you get all the blame as well. So I hope this was a good lesson learned for me, for hopefully all of you who are listening to this, and I hope you should like this practical project management example, and how a PM, if he misses anything, then it can be hard for him to make the things correct and then take the project further. So hopefully see you in some other video. Bye bye.